All right, guys, time for some English, bit more taking flight for you on this lovely Tuesday. We've been doing really well with this so far. I'm really liking it because it means we get to do a few short activities and then a longer writing activity at the end, and we're getting a good mix of lots of different kind of things. So that's been really good. I've really enjoyed doing this taking flight. And here is a little bit more today for you. So, first of all, I'm not going to say watch the film again to start off with. I might say that later, though. I wanted to watch a BBC bite-sized video. I haven't watched one of these for a little while, so I thought I'd put one on today. The link is on Class Dojo, as always. And today it's about the first, second, and third person. So these are lots of different ways in which you can write a story. There's some writing on there as well, which I'm going to go through. But first, I'd like you to watch the video. It's only a short one. So pause this video and watch the BBC bite-sized video on first, second, and third person now. All right, so hopefully you understand a little bit more about first, second, and third person. Some of those you should know, maybe one of them not so sure on. So that's why I want to have a little talk about the three of them. So first person, just to recap, when you write in the first person, you're putting yourself inside the writing, or you are writing as someone else. So you need to describe how you feel and what you're doing, what you are doing. So you use I a lot. Okay, so I saw two messy monsters. Okay, that's what you need to think about. I is the key for first person stuff. You are in the story, you are being one of the characters. Second person is slightly different because when writing in the second person, it's like when you're addressing the reader directly, it's like you're talking to the reader. So you're not just telling a story, you're actually talking to them, and that makes it feel quite personal to the reader. So you use words like you and your. So it says, when you see a monster, you should tell them to tidy up. So that's like me talking to the person who's reading it. So it sounds like you're having a bit of a conversation, or maybe it's a bit more personal. The third person is one that we do all the time. When you're writing in the third person, the story is about other people. So it's not about you. It's like when you tell a story about, I don't know, Jack and the Beanstalk, you say Jack did this, Jack did that. You don't say I did this because you're not Jack. You're telling the story about other people, not yourself or the reader. So you use the character's name, like Jack and Jack and the Beanstalk, or you use pronouns such as he or she. He sneakily crept up on them. Fudge the monster looked scared. Okay, so that's the common one that you use a lot when you're writing a story anyway. First person is when you put yourself in the story or you become one of the characters. And then the second person is like when you're talking to the reader. So they're the three different ones that we need to think about. All right. Cool. So we've got a little bit of a sheet in your pack. It's resource 8A, and it looks like that. You'll notice that it's got circles in the middle. It says first person, second person, third person. This is a pretty straightforward activity. You're going to do some matching up. So you're going to match the correct pronouns, which are all dotted around the outside, and you need to connect them or draw a line or write them in the circle, however you want to do it. You got to match them to the correct first person, second person, or third person. So, for example, I'm going to pick an easy one for you. You've got just the letter I there. I, that must go in the first person box, the first person circle up there. All right. So, have a go at that one. It's not one that you have to send me unless you want to. It's just getting having a think, and getting our heads around what some of these pronouns, where they would go, whether they'd be in first person writing, second person, or third person. So pause the video, have a little go at that activity now. All right, so first person, second person, third person. I'll do a couple of them. I won't do them all. I said we'll go in first person. Let's pick. Let's have a look. Let's pick a good one. So her would be in third person because you're talking about a female character in a story. Her would go in third person. You would go in second person because you'd be talking to the reader, so that will go in second person. The boys, that would go in third person, because that's obviously some characters from a story, that'd go in third person. My, that would be when you're talking about yourself or you're in a story, so that'd be in the first person. And then I'll do one more. Our is when you're like talking to the reader again. It's like you're joining together our thing. So that'd be in second person. Hopefully you managed to sort those out. There's quite a lot on that one for third person. I think you'd have more in the third person box than any other. All right, let's move on. Something different, but something that we've done before. It's similes. And it says complete the following sentences. So similes, we have done these before. You should know what these are. It's when you it's to help describe something, and it's when you say something is as something else or like something else. It's using something completely different to describe what you're talking about. So when you say I've got completing the following sentences, we've got as fast as something. What could be fast? Up to you. You can have as bright as something that's bright. Slippery like a. All right. So you have a go at that. If you can do more than one for each, that'd be quite good. Try and challenge yourself. Pick more than one for each one. Have a go at that one. Pause video and I'll tell you a couple of mine when you get back. Pause video now. All right, so we were just thinking about some similes, dead easy. I don't want to spend too long on this because I think we know what they are already. So it's when you're describing something and you're saying something is as something else or like something else. It's a really good way of getting the reader to imagine your thing from your story even better. So if you say something is as fast as something else, then obviously that thing is going to be pretty fast. So I'm going to say as fast as lightning. I'll say that. Fast as lightning. That means you must be pretty fast. You might have other things for that one. As bright as, well, you can pick anything you like. I'm going to say as bright as the early morning sun. There you go. I could have just said as bright as a star, but I tried to make it a little bit of a longer one that time. As bright as the early morning sun. When I'm driving to work, when I used to drive to work, and I had to used to put if it was the sun was in the right place in the early morning, it'd shine right in my eyes. I'd have to put the thing down on the car like that. Slippery like something that's slippery. What could be slippery? I'm going to say slippery like I'm going to change that. Slippery like an eel. Eels are very slippery, aren't they? Seem a bit slimy. They live in the sea. Slippery, slimy eels. There you go. You might have had different ones. You don't have to send me those. That's just a little activity for you to have a think about and get reminding in our heads what a simile is. And if we can do what a simile is, I wonder if you can guess what's next. It's metaphors. So similes and metaphors do usually go pretty close together, but they're not exactly the same. A metaphor is when something is described as something else. So this one is when you're saying it is the other thing. So, for example, the sun was a dot in the sky. You can imagine that, can't you? You can imagine the sun being a little dot in the sky. It's not actually a dot in the sky. It's the sun. It's massive. It's billion miles away. But you could say, oh, it's a dot in the sky, even though it's not really. You could say the tree was a tall giant. Can you imagine a really tall tree in a wood or a forest somewhere? Massive tall tree. You'd say the tree was a tall giant. It isn't really a tall giant. It's a tree. Okay? So when you're saying something is something else, even though it's not. You might say, I've got a picture to show this. The field was a sea of purple flowers. And if we look at this picture, it does look like that is a field with just loads of purple flowers in it, but it looks like a sea because it goes so far out into the distance. It's a purpley colour. It looks like maybe when the wind runs through it, it probably looks like it's waving a little bit like the sea. But it's not really a sea. We're saying the field was a sea of purple flowers. It's not. It's a field with purple flowers in it. But we're saying it's a sea. Do you see what I mean? Right. I want you to have a little think of any other metaphors of your own. Maybe some you know about, maybe some that you can come up with. And I want you to have a go at writing a simile and a metaphor about the aliens in the film. So you might say the aliens were as something as something. You might say the aliens were like something. You might say the alien spaceships were this, even though they're just alien spaceships. Have a little go at that one. Feel like metaphor is a bit tricky, but I'd like everyone to have a go at it. Simile, I think we can do because we've done it before. Okay, so your job is to have a go at writing a simile and a metaphor about the aliens in the film, and also have a think of any other metaphors that you know of or you can make up as well. All right, so pause the video, have a go at that, and then I'll come back and tell you the writing task. All right, so hopefully you've got a couple of similes and metaphors. Well done if you did. Got a writing task for you now, and now I'm going to ask you to watch the film again, but only from 3 minutes and 28 seconds up to 4 minutes 11 seconds. So it's not the whole film, it's just that part of it. So you'll have to fast forward the film to 3 minutes 28, and then you only have to watch up to 4 minutes 11. And your writing task today is to write a short narrative for this part of the film. A narrative means tell the story. And it's just for that part of the film, the alien part. Write in the third person as Tony. Okay, so you're going to be writing in the third person, but you're going to be saying, that shouldn't say as Tony. I've made a mistake there. It should say right in the third person about Tony. Okay, so you're not Tony. That's my fault. Don't put I did this, I did that, because you're writing in the third person. You're putting Tony did this, Tony did that, he said, they said, things like that. Okay, please, yeah, do that. Write about Tony, not as Tony. And you must include at least 3 similes and at least 1 metaphor. So 3 similes, 1 metaphor. If you want to do more than that, that is fine. But there's going to be some good description in this as part of the story to do with space, asteroids, spaceships, aliens, stars, planets, all sorts of stuff. So I think you've got a good chance to get some similes and a metaphor in. So I want 3 similes and at least 1 metaphor. If you want to do more, of course you can. I'm never going to say don't do more. All right, so that's it. One more time. You are doing a writing task now, and you're going to retell the story for this part of the film, just this part, and you're going to write it in the third person about Tony and what's going on in the story for him at this stage of the film. And you've got to put in at least 3 similes and at least 1 metaphor. Okay, that is it for the English today. Hopefully that's all right. Maybe a couple of tricky things, but nothing that I don't think we can handle. Good luck with it, and I will see you all a little bit later on.